So this was obviously much more fun being in the forum than sitting in an email queue doing 8 hours of email. The major benefit for me is that I can sign off as Brian or Brian Rose. I don't have to use Google approved language. I can make references to Star Wars if I want to. It doesn't have to sound like this ivory tower, this white box. People actually get to know people who work at Google, people who care about their problems or the issues and the feedback they're raising, and that people know that we're going to work to make it better. On the user side, I mean, we celebrated people's birthdays, we got to know each other's families, we shared vacation photos, and we made friends through Google Groups. It was much more like real-life human interaction than we could ever get in an email queue. So I'd like to take just a quick few minutes to talk briefly about some of the trends or some of the challenges that I see our team facing, and I'll talk briefly about some of the ideas that we have to address those. The first is that I see these tools, all the different communication channels changing much faster than people do. We still have lots of people who come to Google, who actually come physically to Santa Monica, knock on our door and ask for support. We always have people who ask for our phone number or ask for our email address, even when the question that they are raising is already answered in the help center. And we actually had just, I think it was 2 weeks ago, we had a guy come into the forum and he was livid. He wrote lots of these hate-filled, just expletive-ridden responses about why is it so hard to contact Google? And that's how he signed off on every post, is how in the world do you contact Google? And he was writing this in our group and I responded, you just did. You contacted Google, here's the question that you have, this is the help article that addresses the issue you're seeing, and here's how to fix it on your own. And so the threads went quiet, and he came back the next day and he apologized for spamming the board with all these pretty vile posts, and he said he just wasn't used to this idea of using a forum for support. He was looking for a phone number, and because he couldn't find one, he was so frustrated. But now that he saw that this is how support at Google works, or this is how even a forum works, he understood why we were doing it, and he understood how he could use this going forward. I think as community managers, even though us in Silicon Valley or us in San Francisco, the people in this room, we all get Facebook and Twitter and social media, but the vast majority of people who come to our Google forums, they don't seem to always get it. And it's our job as community managers to help them make that transition. When I talk to community managers, it always seems to come down to the metrics, finding the right metrics and finding the right tools to measure them. And I don't have a great answer for this either. It's something that we're still working on, something that we're trying to define for our team. I think what we want to do is try to tie the community initiatives that we're doing to actual product usage metrics. And so I want to be able to say that by responding to all bug reports within 24 hours, we were able to reduce attrition by X%. Or that by focusing on this specific set of features, we were able to increase product usage X-fold. And I just can't do that today because I don't have the tools or the ways to measure those. And even though Google is a very data-driven organization, it's really hard to make a case without being able to say those kinds of things. We have Avinash Kaushik, he's an analytics evangelist at Google, and he says, too many companies haven't evolved from what I call shout marketing. And that's like TV ads, magazine ads, newspaper ads, to influence by initiating and participating in conversations with consumers. There needs to be a generational shift. And I think for a long time, that's how we thought about how we were going to do community support. Or when we look at how we're using Facebook and Twitter today, a lot of it is this very broadcast channel type of support or marketing. And it's something that I think I want our team, our consumer operations team, our community management team to really get beyond. Using the forums to actually engage with users, to make friends, to talk to users, rather than just listen. There was one of the slides that Brian Solis had about the command center, where people were just listening to feedback. And I think for a while, we got caught in that trap as well, where we were just listening to feedback, but not actually engaging or responding to users. And it's so easy to do when you have a cool little war room or conference room like that, where you can just see a stream of tweets fly by, or see a stream of forum posts go by. And we need to get back to actually engaging users in our forums. So with that, this is again just straight from Brian Solis. He talks about in his prezo or in his site about this many-to-many model, And I like to see our team get away from this sole focus on support and start actually building communities around our products. We can use the forums to do this. We've already tried to give a face to our team and build relationships with our connectors. And what I mean is that I have a friend, Cooper. He's an audiophile. He knows everything there is to know about stereos and headphones. I think headphones specifically. I think he studied headphones more than he prepared for his final exams in college. But whenever I have a question about what kind of system do I need or what kind of headphones do I need to buy, I go to him. And he tells me everything that I need to know. I think there's some debate now about the wisdom of friends versus the wisdom of crowds. And with tech support, I think it really just depends. I know that if I'm having a problem on my computer, if I'm seeing an error message, the first thing I'll do is I'll go to Google, type in the error message, and I don't necessarily care who wrote the answer or what forum or what site it's on, as long as that issue fixes my problem. So I think that's kind of the idea that we want to do here. We want to make sure that users are getting the right answers at the right time, not necessarily putting so much emphasis on who wrote the question or who wrote the answer, but building those ties with our connectors. I think Seth Godin, too, to paraphrase something that he said, we essentially want to turn strangers into friends, we want to turn friends into users, and we want to turn our users into product evangelists for our features and our products. Like I was saying, I'll skip that slide because I'm starving and I really want to go to lunch. We want to build features and products around the community. When I look at sites like TurboTax or Flickr, where TurboTax, while I'm doing my taxes, I can pop over, ask a question to the community, and get a response while I'm still filling out all the different 1080 forms. Or with Flickr groups, I can see that actually participating in these groups is encouraging me to post more photos, reply to more comments, and actually it drives more product engagements, more time on the page. And that's something that I'd like to see our teams do going forward. So with that, you can follow me on Twitter or ask me any questions. I'm at Brian Rose, or you can follow me on Buzz. My username is BHROSE. Thanks.
But obviously, you guys have a huge help section, but in the forums, I could assume that you have people who ask the same questions over and over and over, and obviously you don't tell them the RTFM, so how do you guys manage that?
So the question was, how do we manage the repeat questions? And sometimes it's as simple as just closing a thread as a duplicate. And we'll send a little note and say, this question's already been answered, just check out this thread. If you have additional questions, or if you're not understanding what's being said, or if you're seeing a different issue, definitely let us know and we'll respond. But a lot of it is through Google Groups, or either just rephrasing things that are already existing in the help content. It's just linking back to those existing answers.
Our moderators tend to say, search noob.
That's definitely what's going on up here, not what comes out of the figures.
Come on, any more questions? Let's get some questions.
Did I hear you say that if you Google a question towards your help, that oftentimes the answer will come up from the forum rather than your own help documents?
Yeah, the question was, do forum results appear higher than official articles or help articles? And that's true very often. And like I said, I think part of it is because when users search for a specific keyword or search for a query, they're searching in the language that they would use, and also in the forum threads, they're typing the questions in the language they would use. Whereas in a help article, it's, even though we try to be kind of loose or try to make jokes, it's still very much Google language, and that might not necessarily use the same keywords or the same language that users use.
Is it fair to say that you guys being cognizant of that, Google search will be forum friendly for the foreseeable future?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the question was, will Google search be forum friendly? I would definitely like to. I mean, we have teams and teams of very brilliant people, much smarter than myself, working on search and constantly improving it every minute, if not second of the day. So I would hope that it only gets better over time.
Yeah.
Can we take those guys to lunch?
So I use the search all the time, especially, for example, Google Analytics. And what's amazing is you have this mountain of data. Not only the data that's in your Help Center articles, but even within the Help Center articles, you might have different article contributors. Then you have all the forum content, which might be old or new. How are you guys staying on top of that to make sure that if I do a search, I mean, obviously there's relevance in their algorithms that you're already using, but I've run into problems where there's maybe just disjointed answers or recency problems. How do you guys address that?
So the question is, how do we deal with recency or even just quality issues with search? I think again
between the articles and what's in the forum content or the groups.
Between the help articles and then the forums. So I think what we have to do is basically make sure that what's being currently said in the forum gets reflected in the help article. I think for a long time we usually write an article and then just call it a day. We wouldn't go back and constantly iterate or improve on it. And we need to take the feedback that we're getting, or even just tweak the language that we do use in the help articles to make sure that a help article does show up high in search results, or that it's understandable in the way people are talking about the different features. So I think it's kind of just an iterative process. We'll just have to keep working to make things better.